All right, we're gonna move on to Betsy.
Betsy Kahn, the Essential Public Information Center. Hi, Jamie, I haven't seen you in years.
All right, next we have Jamie Scott.
Oh, right. Hi, this is Jamie. I'm with Lake County Vector Control.
I used to know her as the bug lady, is what I was told to remember her as. It's good to see you, Jamie.
That's right. You can still call me the bug lady.
Then we have Kim.
Hey, Kim Donner here from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Sacramento District.
Thank you for being here, Kim. And then lastly, we have Holly.
Oh, hi, Holly Harris, Clear Lake Oaks resident.
All right, thank you, everybody. We're gonna move on to consideration of items not appearing on the posted agenda. Are there any extra items, Dr. Upadhyay?
No, I think everything is there. I added one item to the extra or non-time guidance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move to the board actions. We have the meeting minutes that were attached along with this agenda. This was from June 2nd, 2025, Middle Creek Project meeting. Any comments, questions, changes, deletions, additions, subtractions, divisions?
Spot on to me.
Okay, I see nothing here. I just want to open it up for the public. Any public comment on the minutes? And seeing and hearing none, back so that we can take action.
I move that we approve these minutes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to item number 4, project area parcel acquisition, 4.1, updates and next steps with parcel acquisitions of Willing Settlers. Dr. Upadhyay.
Yeah, so actually I was trying to bring up this thing on the sharing. I think I'm not able to see because my Teams is not logged in. Should I just go ahead like this?
Can I give you about 2 to 3 minutes? I can
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
No.
I think that.
So we did have, I'm sure you may have seen on the Board of Supervisors, I want to say it was 2 weeks ago. We had what was it called? The lowest amount or whatever it was specifically called, but basically the appraised amount that was approved by the state. It came to the board not for a final approval of the contract or the agreements, but for the approval to move forward with offering those amounts. Basically, kind of a very transparent way of saying, here's what we have. Do we want to move forward with this? And so there were no questions from the Board of Supervisors. There was no, I think it was on the consent agenda, if I remember correctly. And there was the number of properties that we had talked before. I think it might have been 7 properties. Bloody Island was one of those properties, at least the one portion, the northern portion of that. And so that was exciting to see on there. So now we're taking the next steps. That was approved to move on. And now that's being offered to the property owners, which then they can start opening escrow and finalize those agreements.
Just compensation
Just compensation.
is what I am.
Thank you.
Do you normally do that big batches of properties?
No.
It was very efficient. Good job.
It was a good amount of properties.
Yeah.
So these are the ones that are not willing sellers?
No, these were the willing sellers. This was approved by the state of California for what our appraisals came up with. And then
So that's the little piece that of Bloody Island.
the top piece, the actual island, to be honest with you, because the southern piece, I think, is more of the flat section where the transmission wires are going through.
So it's not the one that's for sale for 1.5 million?
No,
You had my hope up there.
no, sorry, so sorry. Hey, 50% of the total is still 50% of the total. Got to start somewhere. So
Good job. Good job.
yeah, no, I was excited to see all of those. I appreciate all the work it takes to get there. It's unfortunate how long it takes, but there's so many hands and so many moving gears that it's not in the control of one department or one individual to make those things happen. And I thought that it was a good progress meter. And we'll come back to the board at a future time and we'll talk a little bit later. We haven't done an update to the board in a while. And so I think it's time to show the board what exactly is the status of the project and where we're at.
Excuse me, I just wanted to make sure I had it right. These are 7 parcels.
And again, I said 7, but it could have been a
Is
different number.
Item 5.6 on the July 22nd board, and it was the Con property, Coker.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing I have here. So that's for the
So you're sharing now? Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and move forward.
So these are like the property status, like for the last, it says the Board of Supervisor approved the just compensation documents for 4 property owners covering 10 parcels. So that was
That
the,
was off by a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that happened on the July 22nd meeting.
Can you, when you do these, can you put the ADNs?
Yes, I will
They're
in the next
they're in
one.
the board item 2.
So,
Not to the board of supervisors.
no, it's in,
It's in the next,
coming.
it's in the next one.
So the signed copies has been provided to the monument. They are like our consultant who reach out to the property owners on our behalf. And they will distribute it to the property owners.
Is it possible to hit the, play presentation so we can get a little bit of a
Oh,
bigger
yeah.
screen?
Sure.
See if that helps for seeing the words. Oh, it actually made it smaller.
Yeah, because you.
Yeah, I think it might be like a separate screen or something. I can definitely make it bigger.
Okay, no worries, no worries.
I just think send the list to Mary Jo, so you have it in your email.
Shoot them to
Okay.
the property. So property owners are gonna get this.
And
Yeah.
so now the negotiations with the property owners is starting based on what we approved.
Okay.
Okay?
And the next slide is the one which has, so I have presented this thing before. But it's again here. So these are in the previous meetings I presented saying will be going to the board soon. So this has gone and this has been approved by the board to present the just compensation, or like start the negotiation with the property owners. And these are the parcel numbers. And if you see like there is a white line in between there which separates it by the owner, like first 2 is in one, and then next 5 is another together one, and then 2, and then 1. And I think one of them is the Lady Island property as well.
Yes.
And I do have like somebody, maybe in the next meeting, I will have more information about it, but somebody from who owns that Lady Island came to our office there and he was interested in selling.
Oh,
So we will be starting the process. I already informed the monument about it, but I don't have much detail at this point.
and
So someone
is
that
this
had
the
been
appropriate time?
Somebody reached out to us regarding.
And someone that had been unwilling is now willing.
Yeah, I think so.
So what I would like to give you as much flexibility. We know that Robinson also attempted. We want to attempt. If at one point the number is still too high, is there a way to maybe have a conversation with Robinson and see if we can split? Like, would that be possible to do it? It sounds complicated, but I'm looking for a way to eventually overcome whatever that number might be. Because eventually the only way to overcome that is the courts, and that's, in my opinion, a very unhealthy direction for that one specific property, just because of the sensitivity of that property.
Yeah. I think that's a possibility. That would be a nice way to approach it. Like if you don't want to have a legal proceeding, which will take time and also money from our side. Okay, let's proceed with what we have right now. And then as we progress, or like as we have, or at least have the appraisal done, and then talk with property owners, like at least reach this stage, like where probably the negotiation starts.
Right.
And
Right now, they haven't even allowed us to do the appraisal.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, which is itself a lengthy process. So, I mean, so we would be moving forward with these 10. And out of these, I think in a couple of meetings, a concern has been brought about, like the communication or like reaching out to these property owners, especially I think Coker. It seems like probably they want to sell it as soon as possible. So I did brought that out to Monument, and they will reach out to them for the updates as well as like further proceeding on how it works out.
Okay.
I did ask them like whether it would be okay for me to inform them. They said like it might be better if they reach out rather than us reaching out directly.
It makes sense to not have too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, so.
Do you have a timeline, an idea of a timeline when you hope to have these all done and agreements brought back to the board?
So I'm hoping maybe by next Middle Creek meeting, which is like about 2 months, we should have at least some of them taken care of. Especially the people who want it to get done sooner.
Yeah.
Because there might be people who will push back or like have additional things discussed through. But I know at least 2 of them, it seems like want to proceed sooner. And if they are in agreement, probably should be quick process. So maybe in about 2 months, we should, 2 months also seems longer, but I mean, that's a reasonable time for the property acquisition cases like this.
And is there any relocation in any of these?
Yes,
I did see some buildings in there.
Yes, I think, depending on like how many people live there, how many structures are there, it's already part of the appraisal. I think at least that's what I'm remembering.
Right.
And there might be some leeway around, but I don't think it's much more than what is already in the appraisal report.
So basically, if I may,
Yeah.
by the end of the year, you're hoping all of these should be done.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think that's the goal at least.
And the fact that we're in August already, 4 months, in my opinion, it flies by.
Yeah.
If we can get these done by December, that's a great number of properties to get off the list and be able to really move on and focus on everything else. So I appreciate it.
So I think last time you said that if these are all purchased, that uses up the rest of the budget.
Yeah, so I think these all together is about $3 million. And in property acquisition, we have about 1.8. And in contingency, we have about 1.1 million. So in together, it makes it 2.9. And there are other sections where we can move around a little bit. And we did have a little bit of the discussion with DWR, and they are okay with us because
That's where I was.
that's the total thing, like the purpose of that whole bigger grant. And since we are coming towards the end of it, so utilize it wherever we can. But
And how much did you say approximately was the total again?
I think total is about $3 million of all the properties.
And how much do we have left specifically for acquisition?
1.7, 1.8, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the rest would be coming from the other buckets. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't get that in my notes.
And because this fund was specifically for property acquisition and the contingency is about 1.1 million, and since we are coming towards the end, it makes sense, so we utilize that, you know.
Yeah, that's a good use. That's what contingency's for, so it's a good use.
That's what it's for.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, we would be fine with this one, but moving forward for the next properties after this, we will need some additional funds.
Are there any further questions from the committee? Are there any public comments or questions regarding this item?
Can we have a party?
We can always have a party. You know, we have reason.
Nobody's accepted it yet. So sending out the notice. Maybe, that would be a free party technically.
Hey, it sets things up. And
I know, it's
sets an
positive.
expectation.
It's a positive free party, I know.
All right, then let's go ahead and move on to the non-willing sellers, the next steps, item 4.2.
Yeah, so I think in the last meeting, we had this, the Middle Creek project status update, for the Board of Supervisors and request for the board to take action up, letter. And I think there were some suggestions back and forth, for that letter, so I just updated this one. And I think the board, the letter was approved with the changes, so I don't think we need any action right now, but I just wanted
Just
to,
an update.
yeah, just an update and, like if anybody has any suggestion or anything after this, like they can just let me know and I can incorporate in this before it finally goes to the board, because now it's ready for the chair to sign.
This is the intent to move forward on eminent domain if needed.
This is the
right?
letter to the Board of Supervisors giving them the options on
Yeah.
how to acquire difficult to or non-willing seller properties.
Yeah,
It's like step 1 of 10 or something.
Yeah, the intent would be from the board itself. This is solely for, here are some options. You decide how you want to move forward, but this project can't be completed without these properties.
Perfect.
So this doesn't act This doesn't ask the board of supervisors to act on it.
So they asked them to act
Yeah.
on the non-willing selling properties with these identified measures.
It lets everybody know, the public and the board, these are the next steps for unwilling sellers,
Down there is how many.
if needed, yeah.
The last one.
So it gives, like, we ask the board to take the action, and these are like some of the suggestion board can take, or maybe they might have, and then on top of these. So basically, like, categorized into 4 categories, the discussion we had. One is identify and allocate additional funding, which would be like providing more funds for, like, let's say, Bloody Island property, like, which we don't have or can't cover with grants. Or give us the direction to continue reaching out to people, which will take more time. And the third would be like engage with county council or any other departments or whatever need to done for the board to get ready, whether it's the preparation of the resolution or other legal things. And the fourth would be to initiate the eminent domain process.
So relative to that first option, my understanding is there's a restriction on the percent increase above the appraised value that the county can purchase. Is that not correct?
I'm not sure. I think the board of supervisor can approve whatever they want, I guess.
I haven't heard of that. I know that it is never a great thing for a public agency to buy something above appraised value,
Yeah.
but it's also not unheard of. We have done that in the past. Was it Seychelles?
No,
What,
that's Montana.
Montanos, that we paid more. I don't know what the percentage was. I know, county council would have to tell us if there's truly a limitation. I haven't been approached with a limitation. It's more of what's politically okay to say we're spending above and beyond what the appraised value is.
Such a precedent that you don't wanna like
Yeah.
keep nurturing.
The thing is that I know there's public disapproval of
Yeah.
the price.
But there's also public disapproval of eminent domain, and so if we pay twice as much for property, which I don't want to, versus forcing somebody to sell it to us, like, what is the political loss or what is the public trust loss that we invoke by taking one of those 2 actions? And we have to figure out what that might be. That's why eventually we go into closed session, we have these discussions as a board, and then as a board, since it would be a court action to make that decision to move forward, that would be taken in closed session to make those decisions. We'd have to have all the data to better understand what are the pros and cons of moving in this direction.
And I think we have discussed this in our previous meeting that even eminent domain, the cost of that is also pretty high. And also it takes like at least 18 months to 24 months to go
Yeah.
through the eminent domain process.
Yeah, I was fascinated to find out last time that the price for the property is determined by the jury.
Yeah,
but-
I thought-
Eventually it's
Through the
courts.
domain, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
we say what we want, they say what they want, and eventually
Jury.
they make a decision.
Yeah,
So then the public, I mean, that's on them, you know what I mean? It's like, well, this is what the jury decided, so we're going for them in domain. It's not, you know, it's not like the county single-handedly is
Oh, okay, I see.
deciding that.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's a surprise. That's one thing that the domain, it's like, this project's been going on for 20 years. The public is very aware that the eventual, that might be the end result.
It's still a sensitive
It
subject.
is.
So I know I read through the letter. Thank you for sharing it with me.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect. What I would say is missing from the letter, but I'm not gonna ask for it to be added. I think it needs to be part of the, this to me is part of a larger presentation. Here's an update on the Middle Creek situation on the project, whether it's, updates on, Army Corps, whether it's updates on property acquisition, updates on budgets. All of those things are fair game for that presentation. And then this is kind of a part B to the presentation of we're having a struggle with some non-willing sellers, and we'd like to offer you these options for you to make a decision on how to drive this forward. And then we hand that off to the BOS. And in that first presentation, we can really provide some numbers, how many non-willing sellers, how many properties we still have left over. Right now, it doesn't depict that in the letter, but I think that's more information that is necessary in the letter, so I'm not looking for that to be added.
okay.
I asked this last time, but is it appropriate for it to go to board of supervisors or is it the board of directors of the Watershed Protection District?
It would be board of supervisors.
It is?
I
Okay.
checked with the county council
Okay.
and they said like, board of supervisors.
Thanks for,
Aren't the same people, aren't they? the same-
They're the same people, but like, it's the district that's purchasing the product.
It's like Bruno minus a beard or Bruno with a beard.
Still doing that.
And I think the reasoning behind, and the reasoning behind that is because this committee has been created by the Board of Supervisors and to update the Board of Supervisors on actions taken in this committee, so it has to be addressed to the Board of Supervisors.
But would it be the district that's moving forward in the domain, or it'd still be the board of
It's
supervisors?
this committee moving forward recommending to the Board of Supervisors, so.
As far as the eminent domain, I'll let county council
Yeah.
and Pawan figure that out. At this moment, it needs to be directed to the board.
Okay.
And then when we make a final decision, let's say we do eminent domain, maybe it will be as the watershed protection.
Because it'll
district.
be them purchasing the, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes the public is confused, so I asked for my clarification, but also anybody that's
Yeah.
on the meetings.
And I have a feeling you may have taken, I'll let you finish before I go to public comment, but I have a feeling you took Betsy's question.
Oh, yeah, sorry about missing the hand. I guess I did saw it. There was a hand in between.
And are you done with this update? at this
Yeah, I think so. If this looks good, I think I will go ahead and send it for the supervisor Kendall's signature, and then it becomes an official document for to go to the board.
Perfect.
So is there a way to notify the members of the committee when items are going before the board that have to relate to the Middle Creek project? Or is it just, we have to watch the board meetings, agenda items all the time in case something comes up?
We can send a notification like how we get the agenda item for like the
That would be
same.
nice.
Yeah, we can send it out.
And so you gave us an update that you have been approached now to the southern piece of property of Bloody Island.
Yeah.
What about the other two properties? Any updates, any changes?
It seems like there are like two family members who are like half and half owners of that property. So I think this one, like, because I didn't look into the documents yet, but what he was saying when he came to talk with us is like he owns a little portion of it. So, but that's what I was saying. Like, I just want to mention it briefly, but I don't have more details. We can.
But the other, because I believe we're down to 3 non-willing sellers. Any changes on the other 2 non-willing sellers?
I have to check on that when I see it, when I say something. Yeah. Because it was pretty recent. I think it was middle of last week sometime.
Okay, I'm confused. How many parcels are Bloody Island?
2 separate parcels.
So one is getting an offer and the other one is the guy that wants $1.5 million.
And it seems that there's a family split.
I think, yeah, I think.
On the bottom half one.
Okay.
That's where it gets confusing is they seem to have already split their property among the family of you get to control the bottom half and the top half is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think it's.
But overall, a deed is a deed and the property is one parcel and they're gonna have to figure it out. We can't deal with one owner, we're gonna have to deal with both of the owners or whoever is on
Actually,
the
the
So
Berry Lake County.
they
I
split,
think they both have.
the one was 1.5 million between different family
Yeah.
members and some want to sell and some don't.
something like that. There seems to be disagreements. I don't know if it's a disagreement of the cost or just of the price or disagreement of selling or not selling. I have no idea, but we'll get more information since.
I might have more
it's an open line
details
of
than next week, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna open it up for the public. Any public comments on this item? Hey, EJ's here with us. Supervisor Crandall, welcome. I didn't see you there.
Bruno, this is Betsy.
Yes.
This may be, something that has changed since the beginning of the project, but my understanding was that eminent domain was prohibited by the use of public funding through Congress. Has that changed? Have you?
The use of eminent domain for the funding that we've received from the states is prohibited. But the use of eminent domain of using general fund dollars or other sources of funds that allow for eminent domain is allowable. The only thing that really the Army Corps, and I'm sure that maybe Kim can correct me, is we have to acquire all of these properties in some way, shape, or form in order to be able to pass them on to the U.S. Army Corps so that they can go ahead and start their project. I don't think they are picky on how it is that we acquire the properties. If I see
Thank you.
Kim's hand, that means I need to be corrected. If I don't, then that means that's probably close to accurate. Hopefully that answers your question, Betsy.
Hey, this is Kim. I am not a real estate specialist, so I can't really speak for what is needed on our end. But yeah, we basically do need to be able to work on a property, whether that's permission from the property owners, whether it's Lake County or the owner of the parcel. But generally, I would surmise that these people who own farms and things like that don't want to give us permission if we're going to be tearing down their structures and not allowing them to use the property for what they intended for what their intended purpose. So, yeah.
And then having a deed restriction afterwards because of all the work that was done too.
Yeah, exactly. But again, you can't take my word for it.
Appreciate that, Kim. Thank you. Betsy, hopefully that helps out that response.
No. I still think that there's a restriction based upon the original premise of the project being a joint project with the government, the Congress awarding the funding. I know there was a prohibition against eminent domain in that agreement. And I think you should check with that first.
So, are you saying like regardless of the funding source? Because I think what Supervisor Sabatia mentioned was, if the county uses eminent domain, that would be the county funds, not like the Congress or any state or federal funds.
And we can double check. It's always good to double check.
That's what the lawyers are for.
But I'm pretty certain that the only restriction on eminent domain that I'm aware of is from the state of California dollars that we received for the acquiring of properties. The money being utilized for Army Corps to do the validation study and things like that. I have not heard or seen any comments regarding prohibition of eminent domain in the movement of the project going forward. But again, we can double check and just make sure. And nothing's gonna happen overnight as far as any action taken by the Board of Supervisors, which right now we don't know what that action will be. And so I'm sure that we can get that answered 100% so that we are not leaving you in the clarity that you currently have.
County council would have recommended that before they approved the letter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the steps for.
I'm pretty sure it's correct what I'm saying, but again, it doesn't hurt to
Yeah.
ensure that there's no assumptions being made. All right, if there's no further comments or questions, let's move on to item 5. We kind of touched on that a little bit, but Baux de non partie, Bloody Island. At this moment in time, I do not believe the ad hoc committee has met whatsoever. It sounds like one of them is going into negotiations to purchase on the northern part of the island. And then the southern part, it sounds like you've been approached, which is great because that's not the place that we were before. So let's keep that communication going and see where that leads us. Anything else to add to that?
No, I think I don't have any.
Any comments, questions?
Lost EJ.
Yeah.
And he's walking in.
And any comments or questions from the public regarding Bloody Island? So I will add something to it. Even though things are moving along, I do want this ad hoc committee to, at one point, sincerely make an effort to, I think it has to be a meeting with, and it's one of those sensitive things that I'm not even sure how to navigate through it. EJ would definitely know better than me. I think you have to invite all tribes. I don't think you can invite specific tribes. There's such a lineage that goes through one tribe to the other that the connection is deep for all tribes here to Bloody Island. But I think I would like to propose at least starting a conversation about what does the future of Bloody Island look like as we move forward, especially as we acquire it. We're gonna need to maintain the area. We're gonna need to keep up the area and maybe reopen up the area so that there can be use of the island for specific things. And I think that we need to look at either a co-management model or an MOU model so that we can figure out what that looks like rather than we need to wait for the project to be over in order to do that. I think we can do that once we've acquired some of those properties.
Is there anything in the grant, if grant funds are used for purchase of the Bloody Island properties, that prohibits land back for that? Or is that off the table for these?
I don't know that it's off the
Because
table.
that'll be a discussion. If you have a discussion with the tribes, they're gonna ask, is there potential for there to be land back with that property?
We would have to look at that. I don't know that that's been a conversation, and I can't say I've seen.
We have discussed it
Okay.
at the committee level.
But I'm talking about like in the actual agreements of the funding that we've received or.
Like, it's a priority now for the state. So every grant, like, the state now would prioritize and not exclude land back. But at the time when the grant was written, that might not have been a consideration. It might not even be mentioned at all, but that's something tribes are gonna ask.
Yeah, I just don't remember reading that.
Right.
But it'd be something to look at, because again, we don't want to walk in with one option in this discussion. That's not a good way to approach it. We want to open up dialogue so we can figure out how we can get.
So that should be inquired before you have the discussion. with the
Yeah,
tribes.
because if you look at when the land trust purchased, Wright Ranch, it was not in our grant, anything about dealing with the tribes. And 3 years later, when we purchased the Keathley, it was, that we had 2 years to come up with a co-management plan for them.
Gotcha.
But since we'd already been working with before we were told to, it's been going very well.
Right. And I think that from what Angela's saying versus what you're saying, co-management and land back are two separate options.
Yes, yeah.
And again, I'm
Yeah.
open because I would like to make sure, and the group, I would guess would need consensus from the group, that we do something special with Bloody Island and not just purchase it and make it another one of the properties that's there. I think that there's a very possible way to do a lot of healing and to do the right thing with that property acquisition. And I want to make sure we start those conversations sooner than later, because if there's a way to open that island up for specific use as we continue through the project, that I think that would be a healthy thing for us to look into.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this the water board? What's the original funding?
DWR.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it'd be good to include them in the conversation.
Yeah, and that's why we're gonna look to see if there's a mandate, if there's an option, if there's whatever. Has that been updated because of their updated policies? Even if it's not in our contract, is it in the contract? I don't remember
So
seeing.
I'm asking, is there any restrictions at this point? The tribes are gonna ask, and if you have those conversations, you know, having multiple tribes involved in co-management might be the option, but they're gonna ask about land back, and so it's good to have that, what the grant funds, because if the grant funds have restrictions on that, then there needs to be another way to purchase those properties, if that's the tribe's
Or
interest.
modify it, and then the grant.
And this is one also that, and go on, you tell me what you think the best option is. Is this something we go back to the board of supervisors first before you engage in any type of conversation? Not that I think you're gonna engage in those conversations right away. I think it's good to get it started at one point sooner than later, especially as we acquire at least 50% of that property, right? Or Bloody Island. And so maybe we need to go to the board of supervisors before we waste your time looking to see what are the options, only to have the board say not interested or interested. EJ's
As
back
a
on.
tribal member, live-ish.
I see
Yeah.
his chin.
There's EJ's chin.
Can you see me all the way?
I see your chin because we have like a gray bar above you. It's just, yeah, it's not your camera, it's us. It's not you, it's me.
That's better.
Yeah, just chiming in on the subject. I know that the owner is still pretty staunch on the amount that she's looking at when it comes to the amount. I know it's assessed at a different number. I know that there's been interests of different tribes or agencies looking to buy it, but then, you know, it's still pretty high. So yeah, I don't know. It would probably be, and I think we've talked about this before. I just want to get back into the update of it. It would be really ideal because of the tribes that were really affected by it. Of course, were Robinson, Habe Matolel and Scotts Valley. And then there's been, I'm sure that there's other tribal members from other tribes that have been affected by it. Like, I know Big Valley being a part of the group that initially got into the conflict with Kelsey and Stone. There's some indirect involvement there as well. So it's one of those things where we're going to have to also figure out how that looks if DWR or the state wants to consider some sort of land back situation. So I just adding that information in since we're talking about it.
And so just to fill you in case you weren't aware, earlier in the meeting, Pawan said that he was approached by the property owner, or at least one of the two property owners for the southern piece. The northern piece, we know we're entering negotiations because they're willing sellers. But the other non-willing seller has now approached Water Resources and says there's interest in having conversations and opening up dialogue. So that seems to be a good first step at least, and we'll see where it goes.
Probably the brother. Is it the
what was
brother? I think it's the brother,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so in this topic specifically for the ad hoc committee, it sounds like right now we should probably wait for Pawan and see how that goes with those conversations. But then also, since we're about to buy 50% of Bloody Island, I know it's not an exact 50%, but one of the two properties that I'm very interested in the ad hoc committee continuing to figure out what the options are in the long run with Bloody Island, rather than not having those conversations starting. Because if we own 50% of it, I think that in my opinion, means that we should probably get started on those conversations and see what is the what is the end result of Bloody Island? How is it going to be shared, utilized? Who's going to have, things like that.
That was one of the right at the end of our leadership meeting here. The Upper Lake leadership and their TIPO had been there, and I was saying I have to get onto this meeting with Middle Creek Restoration. They're like, wait, which one is that? I said, usually Danielle is there, so you do have representation. But I gave them a quick breakdown as well, and they remembered our discussions with Scott De Leon about the property behind the tribe, and then also in exchange for the vineyard or whatever the case may be. But just giving them that insight as well. So yeah.
Yeah. And also maybe approaching the Board of Supervisors to see what the board is interested in doing prior to engaging in some of those conversations. Because we don't want to lead people to believe that something may or may not happen, only to have the board say they were never interested in the first place. So something to think about on what the process might look like.
Who is on the ad hoc committee?
Right now, I think it's just Supervisor
Yeah.
Crandall and.
It's an
Water
easy committee.
Resources.
It's the best committee when there's one person.
Yeah, I think it's just Water Resources and him. He is the committee.
Just me.
Whoa.
I'm the committee.
Us Marines and everything.
Okay, if there's nothing further on this topic, let's go ahead and move on to item number 6, California Department of Water Resources, update and correspondence with DWR.
So, since our last meeting, because the just compensation document just got approved, and I did reach out to DWR regarding, and this was maybe around our last meeting, that I did reach out to them asking whether we can shift the funds around, and they did said that that's a possibility, that should not be a problem. But before we start any paperwork or anything, I think we need to still wait a little bit longer until we have like an agreement or a fixed dollar amount, like how much we need to move, or like does all the 4 property owners gonna accept the offer? Otherwise, I mean, because we already have some funds there. So there has not been much. There was some communication regarding some invoicing that has been resolved. And the DWR project manager, she's on leave or something, so there is somebody else billing on her behalf.
Okay, I do have a suggestion, because the grant funding we have is only for the appraised value. So if we can get something in writing that when you add up all the appraised values, this is the 3 million or whatever the specific number is, are we able to move this specific amount out of this bucket, that bucket into acquisition? Because anything above and beyond that will have to come from general fund or some other source. So if we can get that in writing as soon as possible from DWR, then that's gonna really help move things forward so that when you're ready, they're ready, because you've already gotten that approval.
Yeah, and I did remember, I did send out the email before, which says the specific numbers about like 1.7 says remaining, 1.1 is in contingency. But yeah, I think I need to get those approval in the email.
Excuse me, I'm gonna cramp up here. A little too much work this weekend.
That also helps too, if you guys are planning acquiring more funds, if you have that letter that says we're expected to run out of funds on these acquisitions and are needed, that like that helps as you're planning for future grant applications.
Yeah.
Are there any questions or comments about DWR?
Can we only take it from contingency? I guess, but
I think there might be multiple categories.
Yeah, we have to take more than that, but because it's like if the property acquisition, those funds are from property acquisition and that specific task is completed or exhausted. So it makes sense we use contingency.
No, but that's what I'm saying, is that, I guess it would be the.
We'll go over the finances. you
I'll
know.
ask the question.
It's really the DWR too, they'd rather you do line item movements or utilize contingency first.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, the discussion needs to be like what they're.
Any comments or questions from those in Zoom? Okay, seeing none. Next is property area or project area property maintenance, updates and next steps with project area property maintenance.
So for property maintenance, there is nothing much progress than the last meeting. Right now, we are talking about like internally in our department saying whether we should put out a plan to do like multiple projects, parcel cleanup at this moment, or should we hold up because I think we might have funds to do it just once. So if we do something now and then it's need further cleanup down the line. So we are having that discussion right now, but because we are sometimes do receive some complaint about that we need to clean out or it's a hazard or something. So we'll make a plan for that and see on case by case basis, like if something is creating a problem or have major issues coming up, we might end up cleaning that now.
So is that pot of money just cleaning up, or is it like, because a lot of these houses, some of these properties that just are getting the offer have houses on them that need to go away.
Yeah.
Is that the same pot of money?
I think it's the same, yeah, for maintenance, 20% of the funds we get for the maintenance thing, I think we have to utilize that for cleanup, property demolition,
So if
anything.
you've only got enough funds for one go round, then you need to wait until the acquisition of these places.
Is that what you're waiting for, is for the
I mean,
acquisition?
that's what I'm thinking, but I mean, that's not like, that we have to wait for it, like if it is a major problem somewhere, like where the people are dumping or like somebody living in or, doing like more harm, maybe we can do it sooner than waiting 5 years or so. But what I'm saying is like that 20% might be enough to do just once. So if we do now and then by the time project is implemented, we need to do more maintenance. So at that time, we might have to come up with additional funds.
Okay.
Any questions, comments from in
Yes.
here?
Definitely.
And Jamie, your turn.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you guys very much for doing the pumping early in the season, because that makes a big difference with the mosquito control. By pumping that water out early on in the season, it means that we don't have to treat that area for mosquitoes, so we're not applying pesticides into that area, which, in addition to being ecologically wise, is also economically wise, because that means we're not spending an extraordinary amount of our taxpayers' money out there treating for mosquitoes. The other part of that is we still do get some mosquitoes out there, regardless of the best practices, because it is a wetland area. And it's really important for us that the vegetation gets cleared out. Like, we need to be able to drive on those roads so we can inspect and so we can treat without causing a fire hazard. And With the ditches, it's also incredibly helpful if the ditches can get cleared out because that reduces mosquito habitat, and it means that the products that we can apply less of them. It makes it more accessible for the mosquito fish to provide control without necessarily chemical or any pesticide assistance. And it also means that when we do have to apply any products, we can use quite a bit less than when they're densely vegetated. So that's the one part I guess I'd like to bring to attention is it has gotten somewhat overgrown in some areas, and so it makes it difficult for us to get out there. And our vector control tech, Brad Hayes, is also available. He can make some more specific comments or answer some questions about specific areas out there more knowledgeably than I can.
Okay. Have you submitted the exact areas to Water Resources as far as what you would be looking to have mitigation of vegetation so that you can have that free access?
Absolutely. I will. We'll get that map over to you. Who's the best person to send that to?
I think to send it to Director Upadhyay and we can go from there. Yeah.
And you
Fantastic.
can also include it to just like general water resources, water.resources at lakecountyca.gov.
I'll send it to both. Great. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, unfortunately, you're not going to get rid of those mosquitoes in a in that kind of biome. It's just that's what they want, that's what they need, and it's probably actually good for the ecology for them to be there. So
Absolutely. And our goal is not to eradicate them. Our goal is to, I guess, I don't know, it's people groan when they hear flatten the curve, but that's really what mosquito control is all about, is we're
Right.
just trying to bring their population down to a level where they're not a threat to our health.
thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing further on property maintenance, then let's go ahead and go on to, can I ask one thing? If you do get complaints about dumping, can you let us know the number of complaints that you received just to see kind of where we stand with everything? Because you may know things that we don't see it, so we don't know about it, just to kind of keep us up to date as to what's going on out there.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's very out of sight, out of mind, hence why it's also kind of famous for using as a dump ground. All right, moving on to Army Corps of
Yeah,
Engineers.
so actually, one more item was that like in the last meeting, we discussed the Middle Creek trails under this property, this particular maintenance head. So there was some updates. I don't know if I see Holly Harris is here, like if she wants to update the group on.
Hi
Yeah,
there.
hi.
Am I unmuted? Am I unmuted?
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you for that. Yes, since the last meeting that you had, we had volunteers and Department of Water Resources staff go out and take a look at a number of the properties, et cetera. And thank you very much. Linda and Fred were absolutely wonderful and very, very helpful when we went out. Anyway, going through, we did see connections that can be made very, very easily with, minimal effort between the East Lucerne cutoff into the central area and then up Reclamation Road and then up through to Highway 20. At this point, what we wanted to do was to have a discussion with the State Water Resources about the possibility of it. And Linda has offered to set up a meeting for that with Water Resources, public services, et cetera. And during that time too, the local town halls, Surth, Worth, and Earth, did meet on this, and we're all very, very much for trying to get some type of trail connection over there. We also have letters of support from Redbud Audubon and also from the Lake County Tourism Improvement District in trying to get some type of trail over there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much for being involved on that and volunteering your time to make better access and more of an attraction to that area for people visiting or people that live here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad that the discussion's continuing and also growing into seeing how the state can be of help with that. I think that's awesome.
I have a question, follow-up.
Please.
Just to check the discussion with the State Department of Water Resources is because majority of the trail, I'm assuming, would be coinciding with the levees. Is that correct?
Some of them are, some of them aren't. The nice thing about it is we can be fairly flexible, but there still is. So, for instance, part of it would be Reclamation Road that we would be looking at. Some of those roads, but definitely there are pieces there, and it would be very, very helpful if we all work together.
Pawan, have you had any conversations with Ben Rickleman about this? Because I know that I'm sure Holly has had conversations with him. We just updated our trails website. We just updated we got an awesome new little trifold pamphlet for visitor centers and whatnot to be able to hand out, just to see if maybe he has ideas of where maybe some funding could come from to help support this. I know he's been working on trails quite a bit, and just might be a good person to connect with and see what's possible, how he can assist.
I've actually talked to him quite a bit, and he has been very, very helpful on the whole thing. He's very supportive of this concept. And frankly, what we are suggesting is not really a lot of money. Basically, it's just utilizing what is already there. So it's more outreach. And which is, the premise. That's why, we've been pushing for this, because it wouldn't be a lot of money, but it would have a huge, payback or, to the economic growth in the North Shore.
I'm always looking for the additional icing on the cake. If we can get some funding for interpretive signs, there's a history that goes along with where people would be walking there. But I'm glad you've already connected with them, and I knew that you would, since trails have been a big topic in the last 6 months or so. So appreciate that. Pawan, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, I think I was saying maybe one bigger challenge with this is because the levee is not meant to be where people should be going naturally. So that's why it's important to have this discussion with DWR, and because they have the property in between where these trails are connecting. And I think probably it would be good to engage with them and see what their community are they okay with people going down there on the levees. Yeah. So.
Any further comments or questions regarding this? Online? Yeah, go for it, EJ.
Yeah, no, I'm just grateful that they're working on this. I know Holly and Chuck and Angela, I know they worked on this before. Before I was a supervisor, they were looking at trying to do it. So reinvigorating it is a great thing. Just losing that time in between would have, having it as trails. Just thinking about the benefit to the dumping, having somebody always, people will be, walking on it. And so that deters some of that unnecessary maintenance that we have. I know that they've done some really good work when it comes to, cleaning it up and fencing it, but at the same time, this can enhance that as well. So.
Absolutely. The more there's activity, the more people do the right thing. Well, what I'm hoping too, and maybe I have a faulty vision of what the levees down and water actually going into that marshland area would actually look like, but maybe there might be even a waterway trail when there's a high level of the lake that would be available. Because I know in Anderson Marsh, you can't always kayak everywhere you want if the water level is very, very low. But when the waters are really nice and high, like they are currently still, you can get to some great places up there. So maybe that's an additional trail that might come out of that as well. Angela?
Yeah, Holly is great at doing the water trails, so she knows. Just if there's any interpretive signage or any discussions for the use of the trails, just a reminder, include both the tribes for that area, especially any signage. There are properties along Reclamation Road that are owned by Robinson, so it's just good to have sign off on whatever signage or outreach that's being presented on those places. Have approval from the tribes. Just my comment.
Good. Thank you. Anything else before we move on?
No, thank you for the opportunity to discuss this. It's appreciated. And we do have a water trail on Rodman Slough. It's probably one of the most popular water trails that we have along there.
Hoping to expand that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Holly. Thank you for adding in another little piece to this project as well. All right, let's go ahead and move on to item number 8, Army Corps of Engineers. I know we have Kim with us, but Bhuwan, do you want to start us off with what our status is?
Yeah, I think as of the last communication with Army Corps, it seems like they have like some funding shortfalls, like as with most of the federal agencies. And right now they are assessing their needs for like how they can incorporate that budget cuts and also move forward the NEPA process. And I think in the last meeting we did brought up like they are looking for a public scoping meeting. But right now, because of the funding, it seems like it might be at pause, or they are making another plan for it. And we have the Kim here as well, so she can update us on anything else of the same.
Pawan, you pretty well covered it. Yeah, we're just taking some, because of our budget stuff, we're taking care to consider what the NEPA regulations are, Army Corps policy, and obviously the budget, to make sure that we ultimately tie up this NEPA compliance, because we never had a signed record of decision back in 2003 with the original document. But the management above me and way beyond me, they're discussing this and trying to figure out what's going to make everybody happy, or at least happy enough, I guess is the way to say it. So yeah, I'm just waiting for them to tell me what the path forward is.
Well, we are looking hopefully for them to use utility in their way of making decisions, where it's the greatest number of people with the highest level of happiness. That would be great, that rather than the fewest amount of people with the greatest amount of happiness. That would not probably work out for us. But understand the situation that you're in. I do have a question for you though. When it talks about scoping, I tried to look up what the definition of scoping means, because that seemed to be the highlighted term of because of funding allocation, we will pause on scoping. Is that the environmental review itself?
Yeah, so the scoping period would be like the first step that at least the public sees of an environmental impact statement under NEPA. So generally, a federal agency, whatever, would put out a notice of intent in the Federal Register to announce the intent to write this document, and would call upon stakeholders like the public, local agencies, what have you, other agencies, what have you, to submit information about the project area that could help with the analysis. Sometimes they ask for suggestions in terms of alternatives as well. At this point, the Middle Creek project, we don't need that particular element, but yeah, any information to help analyze the impacts to include in the document is generally what we ask for. And that scoping period also includes a public meeting generally, or as many as is deemed necessary to fulfill outreach. And then that's when the draft writing starts. So the scoping period isn't really all that different from like a comment review or a public review period. It's just deemed something differently, I think, just to differentiate between the initial outreach versus the draft public review.
And then I have not reached out. I don't know if Supervisor Crandall has. I have not reached out to our federal representatives at this moment in time. I wanted to get more further information before I did. I think that we probably should, to let them know that currently things are paused because of the status of the federal government.
Sure.
I do know that, EJ, correct me if I'm wrong, there was some sort of legislation or resolution passed by Congressman Garamendi when he was the representative of that area before redistricting, that he placed this project on either urgent need to be funded or prioritized to be funded. I forget the exact terms that he used. And so not sure if any of that helps with the status that we're in, but just wanted to make sure that you were aware. And again, please correct me if I'm wrong, EJ, on the language that I'm using, but I kind of recollect something along those lines.
It was like prioritized, that was the term, yes.
Yeah. So, and that was a while back, and obviously the Army Corps has a whole lot of projects on their list of things to do, so I'm not sure where within the priority of all those projects we were in, but anything that can help us to keep moving along so that we don't have to make this last longer than we have to. But again, appreciate the place that you're in. You're not exactly in control. You gotta wait for the people up above you to make those decisions. Do you have any idea of a timeline when those decisions might be made?
I don't have a timeline. I tried asking about that last week before the Clear Lake Hitch Task Force meeting so that I could come to that group with a timeline, but I don't have one, unfortunately. I can try and be annoying again today and see if there's anything.
We support you in doing that.
My main thing is just going, hey, how's this going? Right. So that's really where my limits are there. But in terms of reaching out to your guys' representation, I say go for it. Do whatever you feel like you need to do. We can't really go up to Congress people and be like, hey, fund this project. We can't really do that as the Army Corps, as a federal employee. So, but you guys are not, so you can do whatever you need to do. But yeah, our projects are funded through Congress, authorized through Congress. And so that's where we get our directives for the Civil Works program. So.
Yes.
Is a specific dollar amount of this earmark been deleted, or?
I think they're reevaluating where they're putting money. I might be speaking for Ken, but that seems to, I don't believe it's our project. I think it's multiple projects where they've kind of pulled back and said, what are we spending our money on? And is this going to keep moving forward as is?
Because, I mean, they just went through rescinding a bunch of allocated money. And I would think if it's in an approved budget
From 2 years ago.
yeah, that they would have to go through Congress.
There's a lot of things happening where they're not going through
Not
Congress.
standard procedures are.
I won't go too deeply into that, but I don't know that we're in the normal stage of things at this moment.
I can't really speak to other projects and how that works, but at least for Middle Creek, we were given an initial pot of money, comparatively small to a regular project, but it was just a small budget to say, hey, do this validation study, and then we'll work on basically going to HQ would go to Congress and work through getting project funds allocated further for the project. And then through going through the validation process, we found that our NEPA compliance was lacking because we didn't have that signed record of decision back in 2003. And so we basically need additional funds to make that happen. And so that's part of where our funding issue is coming from, is that we're just putting on more work than had initially been scoped out. And then we're also just not getting further funding for fiscal year 26, which starts October 1.
Appreciate appreciate that. I think my personal opinion is to wait because the money should come from the federal government. But if we get a no, I'd love to know what the amount of dollars is that is required to keep moving forward so we can start talking to our state as well to see if that's somewhere else that we can get some help in order to keep this moving forward. But again, I think it should come from the federal government, but we'll see where that goes. Thank you. I see that Betsy's had her hand up, waiting patiently.
Thanks, Bruno. Yeah, so until the last comment that you made, that Kim made, I was having trouble following this because originally what Kim, first, I don't understand what this is all about. So when Kim started to explain, she said that there had been no signed record of decision with the original document. Now, as it turns out, in her later comment, she said there was a validation process lacking a record of decision in 2003. So are we talking about the entire Middle Creek Marsh project here not having a NEPA approval? Is that, are we really going back all the way back?
Yes, that's correct. So the original documentation for the Middle Creek project, it's called on the Army Corps side an integrated joint document. So that means it has a feasibility study. It has the NEPA compliance, and it has CEQA, so California Environmental Quality Act compliance. A chief's report was signed to complete the feasibility study portion, and that's what goes to Congress. The record of decision was not signed. Apparently there were some issues that were not resolved, and the Assistant Secretary of the Army's office issued a letter saying that these are the reasons why we're not issuing this. We have since resolved those issues, but anyway, and from what I saw at the state clearinghouse, there was a notice of determination issued for the CEQA portion of it. So it's really just missing that NEPA compliance portion.
But will that entail when you talk about having public meetings, will that entail reintroducing the project to the general public? It is, it would be great to do that, frankly, because a lot of people don't really understand what's going on. We just know there's some properties that need to be flooded or whatever. But when you discuss the process of, I think, let's see, let me go back in my notes here. The scoping period, a scoping document would, first of all, I guess, be based upon the feasibility study. But to the best of my knowledge, we've never gotten past the scoping of the first phase, which is simply the property acquisition. And we really need to look at what all the subsequent phases are to identify the total project. And that would be very helpful. So I don't know what whether that would happen in this NEPA process or not, but it's very, very important to the public for us to know what the entire process is.
Yes. So the original documentation, you could view it more as like disclosure documents, and the record of decision is when we say, this is what we're doing, signed, sealed, delivered, this is the project, This is what we're doing, right? So that's what finalizes it. The other documents that I said, like the chief's report and the CEQA portion, also do that, but just for under different laws and under different policies. So for this new document, the initial plan was to redo the entire NEPA document, which really means that I would take the old document, update it as needed. We would still keep the same alternatives and all that good stuff, but just update any information that needs to be updated, primarily things like listed species. We would also need to work on a programmatic agreement under Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act. And then a couple of any other things and any other regulations that have changed over time, just to make sure that we're legal with those. But because we're not getting additional funding, we don't have the funds to do that anymore. So we're looking at how we can still complete NEPA to tie up that issue, because we can't go forward with the validation study and complete the validation study without the NEPA portion being completed. So we're working with our attorneys internally, and our upper management are discussing to see what we can do to move this forward. ultimately, we still want to at least have some form of public meeting, just so that the public is up to date on what's happening, because it has been 20 years since we last really worked on this to the public. So, but it's going to depend on what our funding availability is and what the path forward is that I get directed upon. So unfortunately, it's kind of open-ended right now.
Well, it does sound like a very important step, and it does, I believe it warrants public involvement in as much as you said, it's been going on for 20 years, but we haven't even gotten to the design phase. So I think it'd be great to have that kind of a review.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thanks.
Anyone else wish to ask a question or make a comment? So, Kim, I know that you are the messenger, but I feel the need to say certain things. It is slightly frustrating that we've talked with a number of folks from the Army Corps, and this has never come up until just recently. So I'm glad that it's been found, but it's frustrating that we've received millions and millions of dollars to move forward on a project that has yet to actually receive approval, that the project is even, I mean, what happens if it doesn't get approved, I guess? Maybe that's not a possibility. Maybe it's just what mitigations will come out of it. But it's kind of frustrating to hear about this so late when we've been progressing through this, like you said, over the last 20 years. And I'm wondering if the funding that was made available to do this in the first place was supposed to finalize that. And I'm going to have to look and do some research from way back in 2003. Because if the funding was made available then to get it all the way through to signature, then I feel like that's a misstep, not on our part, but a misstep on the Army Corps' part to follow through and get that accomplished. I don't know if they ran out of money. I don't know what the case was, so I need to look into it. But definitely now more than ever, I need to reach out to our congressman. So we'll work through this. We'll figure it out. I think it's a surprise barrier that we were not ready for, but hopefully we can overcome and continue moving forward. And just to let you know, the longer it takes, the more these levees are just going to break, and the project will do itself in a very unnatural yet natural way. This is just another delay of something that may just not make this project be what it really should to restore it the way we want it to be restored.
Yes, it would be nice if this didn't qualify under PL 8499. So that's Public Law 8499, which is a emergency fix, which I would not like it to get to that point either. And I share your frustrations on the process.
And again, I know you're the messenger, so nothing of that is meant towards you.
Our previous congressman said that was the solution.
I wanted to say something. I've been here longer than almost anybody, actually anybody. And what you're telling me is not a surprise. I guess I should have explained it better to Bruno. But we knew there wasn't a ROD. We knew we had to do NEPA. It was just all our pressure in the last 20 years has to move this forward. So I wanted to support you a little bit. The Army Corps, what you do is so complicated, and there are so many bits to it that even when I understand it, you lose understanding in a few weeks. So it's not a surprise, Bruno. It's just that we've been pushing forward. We wanted the ROD. We got that $750,000 to do the feasibility study, and not the feasibility study, the validation study. So we shouldn't be surprised, but we should be disappointed when I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lyons.
When we would have our coalition meetings, it was always the lands first. And when Garibaldi came out and we took him out the land, he said basically, don't go with the Army Corps, but you got to get the land first. And you can't do anything until you get the land. So that was always our focus. But Yeah, it was always part of Learners.
Garamendi, to be honest, and to risk saying something about a former congressman, but he essentially, his route was the 8499. He essentially said that you just wait around, let these levees go, and then you've got your wetland. He said that. So that's,
Ecology.
so I'm amazed that he even gave it a priority. I was interested that Eddie said that he had, pushed up the priority of the project. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And EJ, I know you said something. I don't know if you were looking for a response and I didn't quite catch what you said.
No, actually, Harry said it. Harry said it, that Congressman Garamendi had said, well, once the levees go down when they break, then you'll have your restoration.
Yeah, no, we'd rather have a methodical.
Nature finds a way.
We like methodical restoration, not let's see what happens.
In Quantico, we had plans for levee break and the levee broke this year, so now there's a wetland.
I see no further hands up or comments in the room. And it is 11:51, so I'd like to move forward. Thank you very much for your time, Kim. Next, we have PG&E updates and next steps.
Yeah, so we did have some communication with the PG&E. In the previous meeting, we discussed that we did provided the letter they were asking for, and then they were able to find in their documentation. And it turns out that the original applications were canceled due to age, because it seems like if it takes way longer, they just go ahead and cancel it. As per their guideline to move a project forward. So I think the next step for us would be to initiate a new application through their Your Projects portal. So it seems we have to sign up again and then they can start the process.
How long was the last application? Like, was there a cancellation period? I feel like it's only been a couple years. But maybe,
Yeah, I mean, it's been long enough that it has been canceled.
I don't remember us doing an actual application, but I know we received the letters in 2019.
Okay.
Now, what I'm worried about and what you're telling me is, are they gonna ask us for more money to initiate?
with the new
Because
application,
The
yeah.
letters told us it's gonna cost $100,000.
Your quotes expire after 90 days.
So hopefully that doesn't change. Again, we can always, have a face-off with PG&E to let them know that we need to get this moving.
That's what I was asking the
It's
time.
like a catch-22 situation.
Yes, yes. So I mean, the fact is, we have to move forward, we have to figure that out, so, if the price changes, obviously let us know. Or else if it's just simply reapplying and getting this started, then that's awesome, that's just a little bit of, bureaucratic work.
Yeah.
Any comments on PG&E? You owe me coffee. Yes, you do. All right, moving on to legislative updates and next steps with legislative folks. I don't know that there's an update. I know that we used to send in our quarterly reports. If you can make sure to pass those quarterly reports just to the committee in general so that we have all that information.
Okay.
And then EJ and I can make sure that it goes to Senator McGuire and Assemblymember Aguirre Curry, so that they're up to date, as well as Congressman Thompson, just to make sure they just know what's going on. They want to keep track of this project. I think they find it just as important as we do here. But other than that, we've been talking about that we need to reach out to Congressman Thompson. Supervisor Crandall and I will have a conversation with the admin office, since their legislative liaison is in that office, and just have those conversations and see where we're at. I did forward the email about the scoping being paused to our lobbyists over at Washington DC, so they were aware of some of the changes that were happening within the federal government. Anything else on item number 10? Hearing none and seeing none, we're going to move on to project funding.
Yeah, I think this is the one which we were discussing earlier. So in that, you can see like there are different tasks. I can zoom it a little bit more.
Yeah, the whole left-hand side, we really don't care about. If it's possible to.
Yeah, I think probably this one.
Okay.
Here, yeah.
Can you scroll a little bit over so we can see the other? So basically, administration is at about 50%. Groundwork has barely been touched. Acquisition cost is like at 70%-ish. Hydraulic is 0%, never been touched, and that has less than $1 million though. And property management, our maintenance, we're at about 75% as well. And then contingency completely untouched with 2?
Yeah, close to 2, 1.2, 1.183.
So what is groundwork?
We had that conversation before.
I need it again. I'm old.
Yeah, what's the difference between groundwork and administration? So the probably groundwork is it tied to monument, like doing appraisal groundwork, communicating with, or is that all part of that position?
Or is it physically like working on the ground?
Well, that's maintenance, the property maintenance. So groundwork might be like the background research, which might have already happened, right? Part of the.
That's what I'm
trying to realize.
I think groundwork and property maintenance kind of similar kind of thing, but with groundwork, I will probably, like, I'm not 100% certain, but I think it might be the work which we do on the ground, basically like removal of properties or other things.
Did we ask for definition for all these tasks in the agreement at the meeting?
I think we-
Last time in conference C, we asked for a screenshot from the agreement with these tests. Because there's been several questions about the hydrologic mitigation.
Yeah.
We've had in the past, we want to know what that is, and then.
I think we discussed it in previous meeting, the document was also provided, and then we have DWR to up in our meeting to explain on all these tasks, and they did it. So it should be in meeting minutes
What
somewhere.
meeting that is, so we can reference it.
Um,
It hasn't been the last 3 meetings, and
yeah,
So,
it's will be.
At this moment in time, and again, I apologize, but with the time of the meeting going long, I think personally, and please committee correct me if I'm wrong. It's not that I don't care. It's, can we use the funding that's available for the things we actually
so
need?
we need definitions of what they are, so we can say yes.
Look, we could.
Well, it's not us. It's DWR
Yeah.
allowing us to move these dollars unless we know that we're gonna need to use those dollars later, but that to me is between Pawan and DWR. If he says he can spend the rest of the money and it's not gonna be used, then I would love to see it go into acquisition. Yes, Dr. Velasquez.
In the agreement with the state, there's administration, acquisition, relocation, demolition, and cleanup, hydraulic mitigation, property maintenance.
There's no groundwork category.
Yeah, I think it's actually task 3, which is relocation, demolition, and cleanup, and they're calling it groundwork on this
It
graph.
sounds to me like it's a hidden fund that we can tap into for other needs.
Well, we're gonna look at all the demolition and relocation so far in the grant. There might be the next set of properties.
What's that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been one.
Yeah, the 2 ladies whose
Yeah.
house, you had to take down. So I think that's great, that, I appreciate seeing where we are. There's enough money right now to move things around to help out with the $3 million that we're acquiring. And obviously, if it's possible, when we're done with the acquisition, which again, we talked about, hopefully by the end of December, that will be all done. That maybe at this point, we really need to start talking about the next meeting, or at least not further than the next 2 meetings, coming back with a letter on requesting more funding to be made available. Okay. Because we don't want to pause like we did between, what was it, 2012 and 2015 or something like that. We want to be able to continue and not have that pause. So if you can, what do you guys think? Next meeting, ask to see if we can get a letter requesting for more funds?
More funds or reallocation, adjustment.
No, that can be done internally,
Oh, okay.
the reallocation. But the asking for more funds, I think it needs to come here. We approve that, we bring it to the Board of Supervisors. They approve that to send it off to whoever it is that we feel like. Typically, our Assemblywoman, Aguirre Curry, has been a great advocate for this
Yeah.
project. She's the one who's moved mountains for us to extend it. And I would suggest that we prioritize the communication with her, but still adding all of the other representatives. But if it's possible to get that letter next time, then, and keep us informed on the reallocation as well.
So the letter is going to specify how much more we need.
I think we need to, based on the number of properties left, the number of acres and what we're paying per acre, just kind of make an average of, give or take 5 million.
It's 34,000 per acre based on the numbers provided today for the just compensation list of APNs and the amount that's left.
It's good, but that's.
I'm gonna let,
That's-
want to figure that
Yeah.
out, what,
Yeah.
what the need is, but, or maybe even Monument can help
Yeah,
me with
yeah.
what that need is.
Definitely, yeah.
But I know that if I gave a number, I'd just be making it up and I'd probably be either way off on one side or the other. So you're gonna keep us informed on the reallocation and bring back letter for next meeting. Requesting more funds. All right. Any questions on the project funding? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move on to Caltrans. We're gonna swiftly go through that one. Are there any updates? I have none. Okay, so no updates. Comments or questions about no updates? Seeing none. Next is public comments. I see a hand up. Angela.
I have a quick item because I know you're short on time. We just need a verbal support from this committee, a verbal, okay, we're aware of this and we think the project's good.
And we don't need it.
Yeah, and we don't hate it. You don't have objections. We don't need a letter of support or anything. We just, we're applying for a grant to do some shared stewardship plans and MOUs with both of Pivotal and Robinson Rancheria for the Rodney Preserve, and which is right adjacent across the creek from Middle Creek project, and also to prepare an acquisition package for the wetlands next to the Passion Play property. This is in our list of properties, so we can expand the Rodman Preserve and actually rename it to the Rodman Wetland Preserve. And because this is right adjacent to Middle Creek and Middle Creek project, it'll help provide this hydrologic corridor, aquatic wetlands area that'll complement the project. So we're applying for a grant and we have a community partner list. And while we're getting letter of support from the tribes, the Pivotal and Robinson, and also Terra, we just needed a verbal, basically, support from this committee because you guys are community partners.
So you're putting me in a tight space.
For the application, not the project itself has been approved.
We are a Brown Act compliant group. And I cannot say whether or not we should have this discussion to do this, but you can look at me.
Can you acknowledge that you're a
So,
community partner?
I think that EJ and I can do a letter together.
You don't need a letter, you just have to.
And I think EJ and I can speak to you outside of this group. We can't do an official, but that's my response to you is nonverbal.
Can the committee say a neighboring wetland that's protected would be beneficial for the overall project?
I think that you can get that kind of comment from Dr. Upadhyay, that I don't think that's a committee comment. That's a general, logical, ecological benefit that adjacent properties that.
That sounds like, okay,
So I would say that you can get that, instead of saying the committee, you can get a comment. But I think EJ and I can do an official letterhead as well and give you the yes or letter. I know you didn't ask for a letter.
we don't need a letter.
EJ and I could reach out to you separately and give you that response.
Okay.
But I know that right now it's not on the agenda, and taking any type of action would lead me to hot water.
It's kind of like we just have to make you aware of the project and that we're applying for it.
We are now
You're not
very well
close.
aware. We are now very well aware.
Thank you. Try to keep it quick. Appreciate
EJ, did you want to respond to that? Or not respond?
Yeah, no, I was just trying to unmute. Yeah, no, I was thinking about extra items, but again, I don't know how that would work in this setting. I just know that we do that at times at the board level. Yeah, just that's what I was thinking of during this conversation. But I don't mind doing one. I know you said you don't need a letter, Angela, but I don't mind doing one from.
I literally just need to list this committee as partners in the area
When's it
on the
due?
project. Like next week. Because
Okay.
some of these monies that-
So, EJ, if I understood your paraphrase appropriately, there's an item that has shown up after the posting of the agenda that requires action to be taken before the next posting of the agenda, and that you would like for us to take this extra item.
Yes.
Okay, that sounded like a motion.
Yep, that is a motion.
Do I have a second?
I second
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Since EJ is here, we do have to do a roll call. I'll go ahead and do the roll call. EJ?
Yes.
Harry?
it. Yes.
Dr. Velazquez?
Am I allowed?
Because it's a land trust project and she's on the land
I'm the
trust.
vice president and the chair of the lands.
I'm gonna say you should probably recuse yourself. And then me, Bruno, I. So that's 3, so that moves forward. We've
I think I'm the.
Oh, so sorry, Dr. Bucket. So sorry, so sorry. And Angela's already made the request. I don't think we need to start all over. And so, public comment on this? Raise your hand if you have any comments. Because obviously the answer is yes, just in case you want to public comment on what we might actually do. All right, bringing it back to this committee. Do I have a motion to agree to be a partner or to say that we like the project?
I'll motion.
All right, we have a motion from EJ. Second?
I had some discussion on this with them. So we are agreeing to not be a partner.
No, it's that we approve the project, we support the.
Yeah, support.
Yeah.
So, yes.
One of the questions is use support.
Yeah, partners.
Yeah. And then listen, we don't need a letter, we just need a list of who might be community partners on this project in the future.
Support.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, you have a second?
Oh, we did a second?
Yes. All right, EJ,
Aye.
Dr. Lyons,
Aye.
you were recused, and Bruno, aye, and then Dr. Valle.
Yeah,
Sorry, I keep forgetting that you're in there. All right, so we have, that motion passes, and now suddenly Dr. Velazquez is back. And we're, is there any other public expression? And just for next time, it's supposed, you gotta bring these up when we say consideration of extra items.
I know, I thought I was like, should I talk about this?
Just giving you a hard time. Non-timed items, water right application denied for Middle Creek project, Dr. Mpanye.
Yeah, so I think we have discussed this in our previous meeting. And this thing has come up that the State Water Board has been constantly asking us to respond. And we have already communicated with them the challenges we have, which is basically one is like the funding source to meet their requirements, and the other is whether we need the water right for this particular project. So, so I had a meeting with them a couple of months ago, but then it seems like probably they needed like a response, something in writing. Which we then provided, so they went ahead and canceled our water right application for this particular project.
So,
And in the past, I think we did responded to them like a physical, like a letter. In that, the last update was like, we were not sure about it. We are still thinking whether we need a water right for this particular project. And there was no clear where we were able to find that why the water right was fine for the Middle Creek project.
I think I can tell you why. I'm sure EJ could probably tell you why too.
Yeah, but I think as far as the task for the Middle Creek Restoration Project Committee is concerned.
Yeah.
Or like project is concerned, so. Yeah, I mean, that's what I have received from them. We have about 30 days to respond, but I think it seems like,
One of the requirements they wanted was an updated water availability analysis. There has been one done for the district through Stetson, and that one was completed, I don't know, like a few years ago. I believe Marina brought that to this committee when she was here. That was one of their requests for if the water rate application is gonna go through, is they wanted an updated water availability analysis. They also, one of the protests on the water rate application was from Yolo County, because the original water rate application was submitted to use water storage to offset municipal waters around Clear Lake. And the district isn't a water provider. And so it wasn't really clear what that was. And so the water availability analysis tells you how much water is going to be stored there. And so that's what they needed in order for the application to be approved that would have offset municipal water use around Clear Lake with the storage. And Yolo County was willing to go through an MOU to remove their protest, but not for the use of stored water because the project isn't for water storage, it's for wetland use. But they were willing to do an MOU for the Middle Creek project to not include any water that's stored there, as they wouldn't basically bill the district and the county for how much water is stored in that as an appropriate right, as like taking away from their water rights to Clear Lake. They weren't going to charge us or anything because they understand the importance of a wetland and it's helping them meet their Clear Lake itch requirements from the state.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, so I think, in short, I think the issue is like whatever the protest was or the right was something which we are not able to resolve at this moment of time. So I think that's the reason like why we went to this stage that, and regardless, like I think the reason or the issue which has been raised, whether it's Yolo County or the whatever TNS is not something we can provide right now because this project maybe take another 5 years or 10 years for the implementation, and maybe these things come at that moment. But it seems like it's kind of not necessarily specific to this project. So
They don't require another application. They said that.
application for what?
Like, is there, if they consider the project as diverting water, they can require an application for water in the future? Because that was why it wasn't dropped originally, is because the cost to then refile an application versus just changing it was very expensive. That's why we tried to respond and come up with an alternative versus just saying, because we didn't like the water right the way it was written, we wanted to cancel it, but they were like, it's gonna be really expensive if you reapply. So that's just something to consider and to ask them.
Yeah, I don't know like how that is considered, like, I mean, as part of the Middle Creek project itself, like, it's not a diversion.
Importing that. Well, that's what you
It's like just this extension of the lake, like we just keep it there a little bit longer. And the Yolo County, whatever process they have is not impacted by, like, if we store it more, probably it's better for them as well.
So EEJ, I know you and I were in the same meeting together with Yolo County Flood Control. This was brought up. I don't know if it was in the early 2000s. There was a supervisor here who really wanted to utilize the Middle Creek Restoration Project as a way to start fighting for getting our water rights back. Because it was an additional water storage and he didn't want to just give that to Yolo County Flood Control. I think that there's maybe a level of transparency that we should have here of letting people know that we are not moving forward to fight for those water rights. My personal opinion is I don't feel we're losing anything by not fighting it because it's just an extension of the lake. How are you going to say I own this water right here, which is attached to this water right here? It's not separate bodies of water, and it makes it really difficult to say that we have water rights to this and they have water rights to that. And but politically, it's also probably not a great statement of we're not fighting when there's a potential fight. And so I think we need to be transparent soon, and maybe during an update from our Middle Creek restoration that we do to the Board of Supervisors, we briefly discuss this. Because maybe the board has a different view and different perspective on how to move forward with that. I think there's some pros and cons. And my personal opinion is I'd rather finish this project and move things along and have the added storage and flood control and restored marshlands than to fight for 1,600 acres when the big bulk of it, nothing changes. It's still the decrees that we have to follow as far as how much water is in our lake and how much we can use, how much they can use, still don't change. There's just additional water that will be available overall in the lake. So That's my personal opinion. I don't know if you want to add to that, EJ. But I don't think we're doing a bad thing here, but I do think we need to be transparent with the board and transparent with the public.
I think it would be a great place to do it at the update, just to have the perspective from our other colleagues and possibly some other folks that may have been involved in the past, and other folks that may, just have some insight on that specific subject. So I agree with you.
The part of any of the, now it's all acquisition, but when the plans come for what levies are taken down and what areas then become riparian, there's gonna be a question of the riparian rights under the district, or, so that's just gonna be part of that design of how much properties now are changed to have access to water, which would change the appropriate rights as perceived by the water board in Yolo County. It's way early for that, but that's just something that's gonna be on the horizon.
There's a lot of moving parts and complications. So I'm gonna move on from that. Is that good enough for you for direction, Juan?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just package it all up with the letter, the update, and also make sure we highlight this, just to make sure the board is aware, and the public. Next meeting, is Monday, October 6th, 2025 at 10:30 a.m. in person at the Lake County Courthouse, right here, conference room B in the first floor. There will be the Teams option, for those that want to join. And other than that, if there's nothing further,
I think there was Lucy's hand up in between somewhere. I don't know whether she wants to say something.
hello, Lucy. We will pass. All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you,
It
everyone.
was great fun.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
It's good fun.
Big fun, but it was just.